want to talk about but what I really want to talk about today with Dawn Anderson is, or to introduce her, is character, because I actually met Dawn, I think it was about 10 or 11 years ago, and I watched this metamorphosis happen in her life, which has just been amazing. And then it's been an honor and a thrill to be around someone of this kind of character, always doing the right thing just because it's the right thing to do, never at ethical crossroads because she's always taken the right path. I don't know about you, but those are the type of people I want to surround myself with. Dawn is a couple of things that are pretty interesting. When I first met Dawn, she was struggling in network marketing, a single mother of eight. I don't know. I'm just lucky. I don't know how anybody does that. Two was overwhelming for me. And anyway, and then in a very short amount of time, after a simple thing happened for her, she went from struggling in network marketing to being in the top 1% of the earners in the world. The company, after that long trek to find success, the company went out of business, but she didn't miss a beat. She started another business and moved from Minneapolis, Burr, to her dream in Carolina Beach, which is just not that far from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And so just kind of idea where that is, and lives on the water, and has created this dream life for herself and has a ton of grandkids. So that's the glory. Let's talk about the story. When people see you, by the way, she does some great coaching, which I want to ask you a little bit about later. It's DawnAndersonCoaching.com. We'll have that link down below for you. But first question we always ask all our guests, do you grow personally and then get a healthy mindset, or do you get a healthy mindset? You have to have a healthy mindset before you grow personally. What's your opinion of that?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to spend time with you and to be here with you today. Um, I've I just have learned so much from you over the years, and I'm so beyond grateful. So this is an honor for me. So thank you. And those two things cannot be separated. They're intertwined, right?
Right.
Because it's a constant. One of the things that I learned in the master keys from you and Devine was that my subconscious mind is always operating, and oftentimes there's a battle going on between that and my conscious mind, right? So I had to understand that to be able to merge those two things together. So I'm always on the journey of growth. Every single day, I want to learn something. And
Right.
every encounter I have, I can learn something. But but I have the opportunity, going back to one of the laws of the mind, is I can attach any feeling I want to any thought I have. It's my choice, right? So the mindset is really not set, it's a shift. So if I find myself I'm going off the direction that I want to be, I shift it back. And that in and of itself is part of the growth.
Right. So tell me about being a mother of eight, struggling in network marketing, and then transitioning into this remarkable. I mean, you've done several things since you flipped the switch, so to speak, and you did the work. And thanks for your kind words and everything. But all we do is create an environment, and some people walk into that environment, some run in, and some run away, right? They refuse the call. You answered the call, and you just can't get enough. And you've had success after success, and you've rolled with the setbacks and disappointments as a signal from God or universal mind or the source of all good, whatever anybody wants to call it, is, oh, I'm supposed to change direction. How do you take those things in stride so beautifully? I mean, I've watched you. It's been miraculous to watch you deal with setbacks like, oh, this is good. Something better's around the corner. How do you do that? What's in your mind when that happens?
Well, one thing that I've learned for sure is that every big jump of growth that's happened in my life has come from getting uncomfortable. So as soon as something uncomfortable happens, and the direction's shifting, number one, I believe it's for my good. I
Right.
don't believe that there's anything that's happening that's not going to, in the end, be for my good. So knowing that allows me to shift and get uncomfortable and do the work because and there's a little bit of intuitiveness, I believe too. For me, it is God. It's and the Holy Spirit's like working. And so when doors open, ones that I never thought about, wasn't anticipating, wasn't thinking about, and those doors come, I'm like, oh wow, this is going to be better than I even imagined. And
So
so,
yeah, so what I think what you're talking about here, and I think what I've noticed in you, correct me if I'm wrong or expand on it if you want, is is that attachment, right, to the outcome really limits us, and detachment opens us up to possibilities. And I think when people get a little uncomfortable, they can clutch rather than open up to possibilities. What's your feeling about that, and how's that work? How do you work that piece of not being attached?
well, most definitely. Often we have these ideas, these plans, we put things into motion and we have this goal. And I'm going to get there and I'm going to go and I'm going to drive and I'm going to get there. And really that's not even where we're supposed to be going. But we weren't prepared. We weren't even mentally prepared or open to those great possibilities. And so we couldn't even understand or see them. So if we say so closed and so attached to that specific outcome, we miss the many glorious, amazing, incredible opportunities that are waiting for us. Doors that we've never even imagined being open for us, being in rooms we never thought of before. And so if I stayed attached to that old outcome, my life wouldn't be as great as it is today. So knowing that, why would I ever get so stuck? And I really think it's you, if you're attached to everything, even stuff, right? Like I just went through a move, um, and I purged, got rid of a ton of stuff. But then I was moving here. And so one of my little things is when I travel around the world, I get a mug from Starbucks. Don't really drink their coffee, but I love the mugs because they have the city or the state that I was in, or the country. And when I was moving here, one of the boxes of those mugs got dropped, and like 12 of those mugs from different places around the world were broken. And I went, wow, isn't that awesome? I have less stuff to put away, and I didn't even know which ones to get rid of, and now I don't have to decide.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. So what I'm sensing is commit to excellence in the moment, detach from the outcome. And you know, take us through the shift of struggling to make ends meet as a single mother of eight, right? Everybody sees the glory. She lives on the beach. You're out paddleboarding the other day. You're out on a boat. You're cooking dinner for your friends. It's just it's a marvelous thing you have. But the path there, what was the turning point from struggling and really starting to understand your self-worth?
Number one was finding, yeah, I guess it's such a odd term, but finding myself, uh, there, as I went through the master keys, it was hard. And when I say hard, not just the disciplines every day, but the facing of me, right? When I said the gal in the glass to myself the first time, you know, and
Yeah,
I'm like, you're cheating yourself.
right.
So number one, taking responsibility for the fact that it was all the choices that I made, good, bad, indifferent, they got me to where I was.
Right.
But the beauty of choice is that they're right in front of you all the time. and I could make new choices to think differently, to choose different feelings, to have different results and different outcomes.
That's just beautifully said. So the idea of detachment, the idea really comes from what I'm sensing you're saying is taking personal responsibility and saying, you know, my parents didn't, this is what my parents did, this is what my boyfriend, this is what my husband did, this or that. But, I'm the catalyst in all of that stuff. I made those choices. I love on all your videos at the end, and you should follow Dawn on Instagram and TikTok and whatever social medias you love. Just great stuff she puts out. Because at the end, you always say, you decide. That's not who I met when you first came in here, with
No,
your
you
with your
didn't.
Minnesota twin hat on. And I said, wow, look at this. I wonder if she'll bring all her sisters in. And it turns out they were all your daughters, right? There's a picture of 4 or 5 of you, and you had that Minnesota twin hat on. That's not who you were. What happened? How did that shift for you? I think that's what people are really seeking to understand, is that the turn isn't something outside.
Oh, no. It was it was it was a series of things that recognizing, you know, I lived so much of my life trying to keep other people happy that, I believe when we're born, we know who we are. But as life goes on, we lose that, right? The cement.
Right.
And and so it was a process of going back and digging in, and it's like, who are you? And then the realization that I liked myself. Who Dawn was, I like her.
Right.
She's a good girl, she's a good gal. She's a good friend. She's I liked my character and who I was, and being able to own that. And again, that was connecting my subconscious and my conscious mind
Right.
because which was a battle, a lot of tears. Davine got a lot of emails from me, and
Yeah.
and I got the feeling very quickly that she had seen many emails like mine
Yeah.
because she didn't jump in my bag, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't jump in my bag. She just goes, keep going. You
Right.
got this. You can do this. And so a lot of tears of who is she? But then the most beautiful thing happens when you take responsibility, you find out who you are, you like you. And if you don't like you, you get to choose to do it differently. So you do.
Right.
You,
Right.
you
So
know,
the
you're not like a tree. And
right.
so, but then if somebody likes me, they like me, like the
Right.
real me.
Right.
And and I get to be that person 24/7. It doesn't matter whether you run into me in the grocery store, out in the water, on a podcast. I'm the same person, right? Uh,
Right.
I don't change. I don't
Right.
change for people. My kids, that was hard, you know, because for a lot of people, oh, people do not want you to change because they like you stuck if that's where you are, because they feel comfortable, because we become a mirror.
Mhm. Right.
And
Right.
sometimes the things that we have to say or the feelings that we share, some people don't like them. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just like it's okay to say no.
Right.
And we get so caught up in what does everybody else think and attached to even that dynamic of life, right? Is everybody going to like me? Are they going to like what I do? Are they going to like what I say? And then we try to become something that we're not, which is a struggle. We can't even maintain that.
Right. Right. We were having that conversation. You and I were talking about that the other day. You know, there's a cutesy little thing that says, to thine own self be true, and it surfaces about every 2 or 3 years. It turns out Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the day follows the night. Thou cannot be untrue to any man. And where did he get it? He actually got it from one of the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not bear false witness. So when we're putting up this facade to be liked, or we're defined by people's ideas of what our role is in their life, we're bearing false witness and suffering inside and don't know it, and then drawing our worth from the outside. That shift, and Dawn was talking about the master key and the challenge of that. That's a course that we scholarship everybody into in the fall, actually in late September, and that's all scholarship. The Master Key Experience will challenge you, and you embrace that challenge and found a pathway to John Novello. I think he went through the class with you. John Novello wrote a great book called the Silent Architect. I like to call it the intuitive visitor. You're just more blunt. It's just God, the Holy Spirit, but it's all really the same thing. And that connection to taking personal responsibility, you touched on something really profound, I think, and that is that to accept personal responsibility, that all the circumstances in my life were decisions that I made. That's the bad news is I don't like the circumstances in my life. The great news is once you take responsibility, it's like, I'm creative. What do I want to create?
Right.
Can you bring us through that part of how that was that a happening for you? Was it a process for you? I think in today's world of convenience, comfort, and instant gratification, people don't want to engage in the process. What are your feelings about that, and how would you encourage people to take that responsibility and go through that process?
One thing that I would ask anyone to reflect on is this. You say you want something. You say you want something, whether it's a change, a shift in your life, you know, no matter what that looks like. For some people, for everybody, that's different, right? But you say you want something, but then you get up and you do the same exact thing that you did yesterday and somehow expect things to magically shift when we all know that the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So look at yourself in the mirror and say, you're a liar.
Wow. Tell me about that.
Okay. Um, well, because if I say that I want to do something and then I'm taking no accountability, no steps, no action plan, to shift anything, then I need to look at myself and go, you're lying to yourself. And then I go, you're cheating yourself. And do you like that, girl? No. And and I'm doing things right now that I wasn't planning on doing 2 months ago. But I know that the doors are open for me because things happen for me, not to me, for me. And because I know that, I'm like, well, I'm going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to do some things that I haven't done for a while, or maybe I've never done them at all. But because I know the outcome already, see, because I believe the outcome,
Right.
that also gives me the courage to answer the call, to show up for myself. Because it's not about anybody else. Now, leaving a legacy is very important to me. It's one of my primary pivotal needs, which people will learn about if they take the course, because we all have them. And that's another part of to thine own self be true. We need to be true to those needs, who we really were designed. We were designed on purpose, for a purpose, right? With a purpose. And if you wake up and you have something in your heart of hearts, and especially if you've had that same dream for a long time, the designer put it in you.
Right.
it's our obligation to live that out,
Yeah.
not just for us, but for the world. We impact one another daily.
So this is such a powerful thing. Wondering what your input on this is. All over social media and everything you hear, you got to raise your vibration, raise your consciousness, learn this and get into the correct vibration. The idea for me, and you touched on it a little bit earlier when you went in and self-discovered, is that we were made perfect. We're in perfect harmony and vibration, and we don't have to raise our vibration. It's not about raising our vibration. It's about letting go of the vibrations that we have been conditioned to think are our identity. And letting that routine go is a little uncomfortable. Science shows that a person has about 90,000 thoughts a day, and over 85,000 of them are the same thoughts they had the day before and the day before and the day before. And so I don't believe that we have to raise our vibration and get into a vibration with that house that you want, and it'll just come to you. The things that the universal mind has in store for you, that's put in you that purpose that you talked about, that vibration's already there, and I'm the blocker, or I'm not. What are your feelings about that?
Well, I mean, let's just look at our bodies scientifically, right? We're two primary components, blood and water, right? And one of the major pieces about blood is iron, right? And water and iron are electricity conductors. So we were created to emit that energy. But haven't we all walked into a room and we we are drawn to someone because of their energy, and typically or we're repelled. and
Possible.
and sometimes we can sense that just from a person's stance, their body, right? One of the beautiful things that we learn that is that we have the ability to give everybody we encounter a gift, and that sometimes is just a smile. But how many smiles can change a day? And they're free.
They're free.
So, but so we're energetic beings. You can't deny that. So it's not about raising it, lowering it. It's about just accepting it, owning it, and then what are you going to do with it? Because it's not just about positive thinking either. You can say all these affirmations, but if you don't believe it, it's like it's like spam.
Careful, that's a big food over here in Hawaii. They live on a spam. So you're talking about personal responsibility. We're talking about vibration. Let's get down to some a real struggle in the country today that you've had an enormous amount of success at helping other people with fitness. And you were talking, when we were chatting the other day to set up this call, and thank you so much for being here. It's just such great energy coming off you. Um, you were telling me that if people are going to work with you, you're guaranteeing that they're going to get fit, but they have to meet some certain criteria. How do you get people started? How do the obesity and overweight challenges that people have? Boy, it affects everything. And you've had a remarkable track record of helping other people and staying in phenomenal condition yourself. How do you get people started? I know you talked a little bit about fasting. Tell us about that, how you get people started, and how you set up accountability, because obviously with your track record of helping other people shed just hundreds of pounds, it's just amazing. And I know you're tough on people. This wonderful, nice, gentle, blonde woman is a beast of a National Football League coach, right? So how do you do that? What happens
it,
when someone says, "Yeah, Don, I want to get in shape mentally and physically"?
even as a fitness instructor, I was also often called a drill instructor. And it's like any good thing, it's repetition too, right? So I repeat that your abdominal exercise is not for your head and your neck. You need to tighten your core. But but it really starts with fueling. So our bodies are amazing machines. And if you have a nice car, most people take pride in that. And mine, for instance, uses premium gasoline. And so uh, if I was going to run out of gas and I was in the middle of nowhere, I would succumb to putting a little regular in, right? But otherwise, I know that's not good for the engine, so I'm going to keep putting premium in. And I believe our bodies are designed the same way, so they require premium fuel. And unfortunately, the many choices that are put in front of us on the daily are toxic waste. I
Right,
mean,
right.
it would be like, it would be like pouring alcohol in your gas tank. And um and there's so many fad diets and so much misinformation. And it goes back to that quick fix. We have this microwave society. Don't use your microwave either. Side note. But we have this society where everybody, they're getting injections and doing all these, surgeries and doing these things. And it's because I don't want to take responsibility for the choices I've made.
Great point.
And, but like everything else we talked about, when you decide, because you do decide that you're going to make a shift, we do fasting. And fasting is one of the best healing modalities there are.
Tell me
So
about that.
many.
Yeah, tell me.
Well,
Why is that?
so first of all, our bodies were designed when we were born to burn fat for fuel. And we our bodies tend to shift to burning carbohydrates because the influx of carbs is so high. And so that's why we have so many people with insulin resistance and diabetes and all these other insulin issues, because their insulin levels are being spiked constantly. Well, the liver can only handle so much. And so that glucose turns into glycogen and it sits in the liver. But if it's not used, guess what it turns into? Fat.
Right.
And and then our livers are just constantly trying to break down glycogen. So the fasting, we get rid of all the glycogen out of the liver. And that puts your body in something called autophagy. And when you're in autophagy, now your body goes, oh, I can use fat for fuel. And that burns so much better.
So how long do you fast people when they first start with you? Is it intermittent fasting? Is it a week?
Well,
What
it
happens?
becomes a type of intermittent fasting, but initially to get the body into autophagy, um, I tell people to count on at least 3 days. And depending on how bad their diet was, how they fueled themselves, depending on how much weight they need to lose, um, it could take longer. It could take 4 or 5 days, because what we're doing is we're measuring the ketones in the body to get them to a place where I can see that they're burning fat, right? Because autophagy, so people will do intermittent fasting, but they're never really, and they might even get into what's called ketosis, which is kind of um, a misunderstood term, because they had the keto diet, and then you go to the grocery store and they say, oh, this is keto friendly. That's terrible for you, is what it is. So just remove the word keto, because but people they jump on the bandwagon of something they don't really understand or how the body works. So um it's important to get to a place where your ketosis is autophagy, so you're burning fat, because you can be in ketosis and not really be burning fat efficiently, right? It's like when your car's not tuned up, it can be going down the road, but it's not running efficiently.
Right. Right.
And then once we do start refeeding, it is intermittent, but we keep it in a very short window every day. And the type of fuel that we're putting in is very specific, you know.
What, so once they've been through this, then you're into sort of a small window that they can eat in. Is that 4, 6 hour window, or what is that for you? Or is
Typically
that
it's,
different for each person?
well, there is variances. There's, it's not really a one size fits all. Like I'm giving you the general rules of what we do,
Right.
but every individual is different. I have people that come to me that just want, they look like they're in pretty good shape, but they've got some icky fat like around their liver and other places, and so we can spread that window out into more meals. But somebody that's trying to lose weight, we keep it about a 3 hour window with a specific list of fueling foods. So
Right.
yeah,
Now,
we
is it true that if they're going to work with you, they have to take a picture of their feet on the scale every morning?
yep, every day.
Yeah.
So they're going to send me a picture of their ketones. So I get that measurement every morning. I get a picture of their birthday suit body, only their feet showing on the scale every single morning. And on the days that they're refueling, they're also sending me a picture of their food.
Right.
And if it's not on the list, they have to ask permission to have it.
Right. So this is
And
real accountability.
oh, but every single day, and they know. And it's funny because I'm not emotionally attached to their outcome. They
Right.
would think I would be, but I'm not. And so when but it's not just that. We also do a lot of work on them because this is a huge part of the rest of this, right? So we have to make some mental shifts. As people lose weight, sometimes they don't see themselves in the new body. And so we do some things to shift that so they see that. So we start working on how do you see yourself in the future right now?
Right.
You
Marrying
know,
that future you
yeah,
that we talked
marrying
about in
it,
the course. Yeah. Yeah.
visualizing the digits on the scale that you're going to be.
Right. Right. So the idea, they just have to contact you, donandersoncoaching.com, and
Yeah.
have a conversation. That's always a free consultation. My big takeaway here actually is two of them. It's just coming off you today, girl. You're just on. It's just fantastic. Is that we're born perfect to begin with, and getting back in touch with that and shedding the conditioning we've had is really what you're talking about when you're talking about responsibility. I'm not responsible for what other people think of me. I'm responsible for my relationship with the creator. That's the big takeaway, along with just a daily personal responsibility around diet, business, and self-worth. Can you expand on that a little bit? Would you like to expand on that a little bit about getting in touch with that divinity within yourself?
Uh, well, prayer and meditation are very important to me every day. Um, I also have maintained habits that I learned in the course. Um, and, you know, I remind myself I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy,
Right,
right?
right.
And, and the cool thing about this too is that we are always overflowing onto others, right? And so my kids that lived with me when I was doing this stuff every day, they heard it. They heard me doing the work because a lot of it I was doing it out.
Or do we just lose something, honey?
Yeah, she froze. She's frozen.
I think I froze.
There, you're back. You're back.
Okay.
You were talking about your kids hearing you. I remember some of them thought you were in a cult and all
Oh,
that.
no, but my kids hearing me say those things, right? You know, my kids still go, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now.
It's just
So they
great.
recite it back to me. So we are also when we're doing this work for ourselves, it's we're also overflowing onto everybody. There's a ripple effect that's so beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
And they get the opportunity to benefit from what we're learning and doing. Also, I know for a fact that my children's lives are better because not only did I take responsibility for myself, but I also empowered them to take responsibility for themselves.
Yeah. Well, see, you don't have to worry about legacy because that's the legacy. And I'm sure that how many grandchildren are going to catch the
Oh,
same thing? How many do you have?
I I have, well, I just in the last 7 weeks, actually 9 weeks, I have a 9 week old grandchild and a 2 week old grandchild, but those were number 11 and 12.
The Dirty Dozen. There you go.
Yeah.
Which is
But
fantastic.
we're not ending there. So this is just
Yeah.
I'm on a 10-month reprieve though, because nobody's pregnant at the moment. So
You got a little window there. So I think it's really important, in case you haven't acknowledged it to yourself, and I'm certainly have on some level, but that's the real legacy is that is that you showed change, and transformation, and you've transformed into someone who was struggling with many things into someone who's successful and embracing possibilities rather than worried about outcomes. The girl, that's one hell of a legacy. That's one hell of a legacy. Congratulations. We always end the same way with a couple of staccato questions here. Dawn, your favorite word,
unstoppable.
your least favorite word.
No.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Music.
Yeah, with 12 grandchildren, I'm sure you're going to hear the word no a few times. But anyway, what turns you off?
Lack of communication.
Great point. Your favorite curse word?
The F-bomb.
Yeah, okay. I've heard it a few times from you, and you can deliver it with style. Uh, what's your favorite sound or noise?
The sound of water, especially the crashing waves.
Yeah, I love birds. When you hear birds singing, people don't know this that there's a comfort. People feel comfortable when birds are singing, and the reason is birds only sing when there's no predators around. So I love it here because I can hear the ocean and the birds. It's a good
Well,
day.
and birds was like that came to my mind right away because as I'm looking out the window, I'm seeing some of the birds flying by. So that came to mind. But when I thought about the peace that passes understanding and you know, the creative side of your brain opens up tremendously when you hear the sound of water. So that's why people love sitting by fountains or the ocean or whatever. So
Um, what sound or noise do you hate?
uh crying maybe. I
Okay.
don't hate it. I just don't like it.
You're have a business at the beach where you are. You employ 33 people, helping them make ends meet. And I know that you've been a successful network marketer, obviously an incredibly successful fitness coach. What other uh, profession do you think you might like to attempt if you have time?
um I've done a lot of things over the years. things that would surprise people. Um,
Like singer.
well, yeah, I used to be a singer. I love that. That was great. Uh, and I used to be a dancer, which was also awesome. So I've had the opportunity to experience and do some incredible things in my life. And so I picking like a vocation.
Anything. Anything you'd like to attempt that you haven't as far as work profession goes. Seems like you've touched them all. I think you've got it all anyway, right?
I've done so many things that, I if I could be a doctor for maybe a day
There you
or
go.
a
Okay.
week, but I wouldn't want to have to go back to school again because I've done that too many times. But and I really, not in an arrogant sense, but I think that I could be a doctor without going back to school. I mean, because I did the nursing school thing, and so. But that's just only because
Right.
from a holistic medical approach.
Now, this is a question I don't normally ask guests, but I'm going to ask you because I know you a little bit. Your favorite scripture?
Uh, Probably Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight.
Beautiful. If heaven exists, last question, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the gates?
Well done, my good and faithful servant.
Well, it's been well done. Dawn, thanks so much for being on. Again, you can catch more of Dawn at dawnandersoncoaching.com. We'll have some of her social media links down there. She puts out really short, awesome, thoughtful videos and always tells you, you decide. Thanks for deciding to come on today. Peace and love. Good, Dave?
Yep.
Okay, we're done recording.